Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to give you a fully strand build for the Warlock. I am trying to get Titan and Hunters out, but Warlock's my main character and I'm enjoying it too much. I do try to make or showcase builds that are just for general gameplay every single day rather than these big damaging end game builds, because I know a lot of people who watch me and also just a lot of people who play the game just want some fun cool builds to play the game with rather than having to go big damage and get locked into kind of a boring subclass. On top of that as well, since I made the video about dual destiny, I did not want to make a lot of builds with exotic class items because I know that a lot of people can't get them. However, this build that I got is just incredible and I love it so much, and it does have an exotic class item. But this subclass could probably be mostly applied to everything Titan, Hunter and Warlock, except with Warlock you get Needle Storm. And Needle Storm, basically when you fire your needles at an enemy, anything that doesn't instantly kill turns into threadlings. Those threadlings either go and chase other enemies or they come back to you and attach themselves to you, allowing you to use whatever class abilities you have for Weaver's Call. Activate your class ability to weave 3 threadlings and deploy any threadlings you have perched. You can fire up to 8 threadlings out just by using your class item if you've already used your super or gathered any threadlings from any source. And we're going to be using Phoenix Dive because it's easier and quicker to get that animation out, but it's also got a better base cooldown and you get some healing from it too. We're going to be going with the Arcane Needle, obviously. Any enemy that you hit with a powered melee and kill, you will be activating your unraveling rounds. And then also with Threadling Grenade, obviously more threadlings, you will then activate volatile rounds, which is also on the facet of bravery. Now the weapons we're using are both strand and void, we'll get to them in a little while, but anything you are doing, whether it's grenades or melees, you're going to be able to power up any weapon that you're using. So we're going to be using Feed the Void because any ability kill that you get will give you health and keep you alive, but also as well restore grenade energy, and that's kind of the cycle to this. Any abilities that you're using will get your grenade energy back, and you're going to be using your grenade quite a lot in this. It's not always instantly back, but you can have it activated very often, as you're going to see in the footage. For the fragments, we're looking at Facet of Honor. Collecting an elemental pickup or destroying a tangle grants transcendence energy of the same type. You get plus 10 strength, which is helpful for getting your melee back, but this will allow you just to blow up tangles, which you're going to be aiming to do anyway. I always forget about shooting them, I always throw them, but anything you do will get you transcendence energy. Then we have the Facet of Sacrifice. Well, you have an Arc, Solar or Void buff. Ability Final Blows grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. You're going to be having Devour all the goddamn time with this, which means you're going to be getting more Darkness Transcendence energy. Plus 10 Discipline, which is great for grenades. Then we go with Facet of Devotion. Defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs grants bonus Light Transcendent energy. You're going to be firing your melee out of people. All of this just ties into having a strand debuff, and then you kill them, you get bonus light energy, plus 10 strength again to get more return on your melee energy. Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. This goes hand in hand, but pretty much with the Facet of Bravery, because you're going to be throwing out melees and grenades all the time, and that's going to give you benefits to your weapons. So you're going to be using dark weapons for your unraveling rounds to be able to rapidly get your grenade back. And after you kill with your grenades, you're going to be using a void weapon for those volatile rounds, which means then you'll get melee energy back. Pretty goddamn cool. And let's look at those weapons. I go with the Call. Strand sidearm, very powerful. It's got Demolitionist and 1 for all, so while I'm getting kills with this, I'm getting my grenade back as well, plus some extra buffs and stats with the 1 for all. It's just a really good weapon in general, probably one of the best weapons for PvE in general, so definitely worth having. Then for the exotic and void weapon that we're using to get all those buffs off the fragments, we're using a Graviton Lance. So you'll get volatile rounds of it, which will cause everything around it to explode, but also as well, cosmology on this will continually explode as well, just doing incredible amounts of AoE damage to a lot of enemies. So, you know, if you need to build up a certain transcendence energy, you can just switch between these 2 weapons whenever you need to. I go with a Pro Memoria Envious Assassin Bait and Switch machine gun. I love this weapon. A Cataphract grenade launcher is also really good, but when I've got unraveling rounds procced and ready to go, I can pretty much kill a whole bunch of enemies, use all my weapon damage on a single enemy like a big boss, switch to this, and I'll have like 200 bullets in the clip with unraveling rounds and bait and switch as well, so I'll be doing an immense amount of damage. And then I can also spray little enemies with this, not just the boss, and that will allow them to blow up with unraveling rounds and everything flies all over the place, killing everything. So there's going to be prismatic building up all the time. For the artifact, I'm not going to read them all out, but you basically want these 4 perks here, and then this one here, threaded blast, destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger and more damaging explosion. You're going to probably have a lot of strand weapons on, so shooting them with this is going to be very, very helpful. But these 4 are just generally good to have anyway, just to build up all energies and stuff like that. For the stats, I would go with resilience, obviously, and if you can, as much discipline as possible, followed by strength. That's what I would go for, so you're constantly getting those abilities back as quick as possible. You could probably bump up the recovery a little bit for that class ability. However, I've just found that resilience and discipline is enough to get the cycle on a consistent basis. Anything beyond that will just make it more fun for you. When it comes to the mods, we're going to go to my helmets, and basically just going to have 2 ashes to assets. This is going to give us super energy on grenade kills, which you're going to be using a lot. If you use this in higher level content, the grenades aren't going to one-hit kill. So this is for like daily run-of-the-mill stuff, you know, your basic nightfalls, gambit, stuff like that. Then strand siphon, rapid strand weapon final blows create orbs of power. This is going to be very good for the core, because if you hit a group of enemies with it, you're going to kill multiple people and hopefully get an orb of power. For the gloves, we're going to have firepower. Your grenade final blows create orbs of power twice, and then causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Now, I have mixed and matched a whole bunch of things with this build. However, this to me feels like the most consistent. If you want to swap anything out here, you can, but for me, this was the most consistent. Any resistances you need on your chest piece. Now, for your boots, I would go with insulation, absolution, and invigoration. So every time you collect an orb of power, you're going to get melee cooldown, you're going to get cooldown for everything, and also as well a class ability cooldown. I feel like, again, these, out of all the things that I've tested, these are like the 3 most consistent ways to keep the cycle going. Sometimes you'll fall out of rotation, and then unfortunately you'll just have to wait for your grenades and come back. But then you've got, you know, if you've already meleeed someone or already grenaded someone, you've got your volatile rounds or your unraveling rounds to just destroy people with anyway, and your grenades and that will come back very, very quickly. And then for the class item, which I got yesterday in my first chest in the Power Heart, and I could not believe it. I wasn't even looking for this role, but I was testing out a few strand things and I thought this is perfect. So using an ability empowers the other 2 abilities, Spirit of Inmost Light and Tangles spawn threadlings, Spirit of the Swarm. These work like the Swarmer's boots a little bit. Every time you shoot a tangle, you'll spawn threadlings, but on top of that, if you shoot the tangle with a strand weapon, due to the artifact perk, it will do a larger, more damaging blast, which is incredible. Now, for the mods, I would go with 2 bombers and 1 outreach, which basically means that every time you're using your class ability, which you're going to be using a lot of to get those threadlings out, you will get a small bump of energy to the corresponding mod that you have. I go with 2 bombers just in case I get out of my rotation. It's easier for the grenade to bring back the melee than it is for the melee to bring back the grenade. So I just go with this setup here. And Spirit of Inmost Light, using an ability, empowers the other 2. I believe, and don't quote me on this, is just to get a bit more ability regen on the other abilities. So if you throw out your melee, I think your class ability and your grenade get a small little bump in their recharge rate. And if you throw out your grenade, your melee and your class ability get it. I'm not sure if class ability affects the other 2, but I have found that with this exotic class item, with these 2 perks, the consistent nature of getting my abilities back is improved tenfold when I don't wear it. So I'm very, very happy that I got this role. And as you can see in the background in the gameplay, I'm running a Nightfall and some Gambit, and it just works so well. And I'm not even using it as efficiently as I could. For instance, I'm not really shooting the tangles, which really annoys me because I keep forgetting. I usually pick them up and throw them, which still does good damage, but it's not as good as shooting them in the middle of a group and getting the threadlings to spawn and such things like that. I love this for like general play throughout like planets and stuff. When I go on the Pale Heart and I'm running around doing either a class item farm or I'm just doing an overthrow, I find often that I consistently have threadlings going out. I have done my class ability throughout 8 threadlings, popped my super, got 5 of them back, get my class ability grenade and melee back straight away, throwing them all out, creating tangles, throwing the tangles. Just the amount of threadlings and stuff that flies around is incredible. Then on top of that, I can pop volatile rounds if I don't have my rotation up and just absolutely destroy everything with the graviton lance. And then if, you know, I want to, I can pull out big unraveling rounds damage with the call alone, as well as using the Pro Memoriam Envious Assassin bait and switch LMG that I have. I just find this to be incredibly fun. And I really do enjoy Prismatic when it comes to this, because I pretty much have a Strand build. I have a Strand subclass, except the actual fragments and stuff of Prismatic just help it out that little bit more and make Strand more fun to play for me. And then on top of that as well, you have Transcendence, which you'll be getting quite a lot during this cycle that you're using with all your abilities and all the damage you're doing. And for Warlock specifically, I believe the Transcendence is the best of all three classes, and I have so much fun using that. I don't even really need the Needle Storm super. It just ties into the theme of the actual build. Most people would probably use Song of Flame because of how ridiculously broken and overpowered it is. However, I feel like with Needle Storm and everything you're using, getting the threadlings back, using those threadlings in a class ability, it's just incredible for like AoE, splash damage, crowd control, just taking out a whole bunch of enemies really, really fast. And it's actually one of the things that I really love about Prismatic, because you can make these high damaging builds, these like one-shot builds for like endgame content and stuff, but you can also just make fun, different, unique builds. I say different and unique, but it's basically just a Strand build, but like unique from the quote-unquote meta, and still have a lot of fun and do a lot of damage and just have a good time. And I think that's where Prismatic shines. I really hope though that with Prismatic they change the abilities and supers from season to season, because I would love for us to have to work out all these builds again with different abilities, because I think that's what would make it fresh and fun. I will say though that if you're playing with other people, it can be a pain to keep the rotation up, because, you know, if you're looking to do a specific thing to get a certain ability back and you go to hit something and someone kills it first and you miss, it can be a bit frustrating. However, I feel like with the Spirit of Inmost Light to get those abilities back quicker, you can kind of keep that consistent cycle up. When I make classes for my channel, it's usually looking at other people's classes and taking it and thinking about how would this fit me and my playstyle, what can I do with it. Some of them have probably been on the internet before through other people. However, I feel like this is the very first class that I've made from the ground up, where it's just me looking at what I have on my class, what stats I can get, what abilities I have, what weapons I can use, and building it from the ground up. So I'm very, very happy about this build, because it was something that I didn't look up, I didn't get any help with, I didn't look and think, oh, that's great, what can I use off that build to put into my build? I actually just sat and built this from the ground up. So I'm very, very happy about this. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. If you use it, if you have this class item, I really do hope it does help with finding a way to use class items, because without specific builds, class items can be a little bit pointless at times. But with certain builds and certain abilities on the exotic class items, it can be ridiculously fun or ridiculously broken. So let me know what you think down below. Let me know about your other classes that you were using on Warlock, Hunter and Titan. Enjoy this one. Thank you for watching. I've been Easy Now. You guys have been awesome.